Hello, my name's Stuart Harrison and I work for ECS, and today I am going to present a generic sales NetApp value prop presentation. This will talk you through various topics within the NetApp portfolio and, more importantly, what they do for our customers and what they can do for a business. So these are the topics we're going to be covering today. We're going to start with the core product set from NetApp, the FAS platform range, standing for Fabric Attached Storage. You can break the platform range down quite straightforward into three major areas: 2000, the 3000 range, and the 6000 range. The major thing to remember, of course, they get faster the further you go along the range, and you can have more hard drives in them and more capacity and all that kind of good stuff. There's no major difference. So what we're talking about here is a value prop presentation. So what these controllers and what these systems provide to a business doesn't really change. It simply gets bigger and faster the further you go up the range of products. The one thing to remember, they all run the same operating system. So once a customer's gotten used to one, they can use any of them. It doesn't make any difference. As we move through the value prop presentation, we come to unified storage, the core of unified storage being the operating system sat on the controllers themselves. The operating system within NetApp is called Data ONTAP. So if you purchase a NetApp controller, you are likely to get ONTAP 8.1.2 at the moment. That is the latest GA version. ONTAP comes in two flavors. Now, by default, you will probably get 7 mode. This is what most customers are used to and what most customers have today. The other version is clustered ONTAP. Now, this is very much the future of NetApp and the way they're looking to go. It changes the way NetApp platforms scale. Right now, most customers will still probably use 7 mode, but if you have any further questions on clustered ONTAP and how it may change the product portfolio, please get in touch with your BDM or myself at Arrow and we can go through that in a bit more detail. Multiprotocol is still core to the NetApp feature set, so regardless of which protocol your customer would like to use, NetApp basically does them all. NetApp can provide all these protocols at the same time on all platforms. There is one exception. The Fiber Channel protocol on the left, it is not available on the 2220, so the very baby box from NetApp. The reason is the 2220 was designed to meet a particular price point, and other products and other competitive products at that price didn't provide the Fiber Channel protocol, so it wasn't really needed. Plus, if you've got a customer that's really wanting to invest in Fiber Channel, the chances are they will need a larger array environment as well, an array product. So it'll probably be one of the products further on in the range, and they do support Fiber Channel. So that is kind of unified storage in a nutshell. And from there, we move on to storage efficiency. So storage efficiency is one of the major conversations and usually part of the major reason that customers look at NetApp, and one of the things that makes NetApp so appealing. Firstly, we're starting with snapshots. So snapshots has been with NetApp now for a while. NetApp actually kind of founded the snapshot technology as we know it today. The idea behind snapshots are you can take 255 point-in-time space-saving copies of each volume on the NetApp controller. Doesn't matter whether it's file or block. And these are instant copies and instant backups. And if you imagine with a customer, you can basically say to that customer, you can have an instant backup that doesn't consume any space. And you can take these backups, by the way, Mr. Customer, throughout the day while people are using that data. So you don't need to wait for this backup window where everyone's left the building before you start backing up your data. You can do this whenever you like. We also have deduplication and compression. Deduplication and compression was a big deal when it was released to the NetApp customer base, and it really did change the industry of storage. Deduplication and compression, like snapshots, are free of charge. The question that usually comes up next is, okay, how much space am I going to save using deduplication and compression if I purchase a NetApp box? The answer is it depends. So it depends on the type of data you're looking to dedupe and you're looking to compress. We do have a lot of information on previous customers that have done this. We can explain how this works, but have a conversation with that customer. There are other tools out there that can give you an idea. So if you go to secalc.com, that is a NetApp tool which will allow you to estimate based on the type of data this customer is talking about. It will allow you to estimate how much they'll probably save in their environment. Another tool is the set tool, the space savings estimation tool. Now that tool can be run on customer site against their actual data, and it will basically say, if that data was on NetApp, this is how much you'd save. So the first tool, much quicker. You can do this online while you're on the phone with the customer. The second tool is something that would need to be run at the customer site, and you'd probably need to send a pre-sales guy or an SE to do that. Thin replication. The idea behind this from a sales point of view is it allows customers to replicate their data over what you typically find to be much smaller links than they're used to. So you'll get some customers with quite small links between sites, maybe 1 meg, maybe 2 meg, and typically they can replicate quite a large amount of data. The key behind thin replication is you don't send files across, you only send delta block level changes. So it's only the changes from the primary site go across to the secondary site, not all the data. Thin provisioning, it depends on the customer, that basically depending on how valuable they're going to find this feature. Thin provisioning can be incredibly valuable. So from a customer example point of view, I would explain it to the customer like Gmail, Google Mail, my email account. So Google tells me I have X amount of free storage space left to use for emails. Of course, I don't have that much free space, or I should say at least every Google customer doesn't have that much free space. So Google provide those figures, 700 gigabytes of free space or whatever. That's based on an average consumption rate. So it's based on the idea that not all of Google customers are going to use all that space at the same time. Only some of them are. And if only some of them do, Google won't have a problem. If all of them do, Google don't have that much free space lying around. So from a customer point of view, you can imagine where this will be useful. Let's say, for instance, I have a guy in my organization, he's a DBA, and he goes to IT and he basically says, I need some space. I need 2 terabytes of space, please, and I'm going to use that space over 2 years. Now, traditionally, as a storage administrator, usually I'd have to say, no, I don't have 2 terabytes of storage space just lying around. With thin provisioning, I can provide him that space and let him grow into that space. And he doesn't consume that space all up front, and I don't need to provide all that space day one. Now, of course, this depends on a few things. How quickly is he going to grow into that space? If he does grow into that space quicker than expected, do I have the free space lying around ready to go? So it's not for every customer and it's not for every environment, but it can be useful. RAID DP. RAID DP is the standard RAID configuration within NetApp nowadays. Usually customers have to compromise between RAID 5 and RAID 10. These will be common and these will be well-known RAID types within your customer organization. So if you basically explain it so far as there is no compromise within NetApp, you don't have to choose between poor performance, you don't have to choose between good performance, you don't have to choose between high cost or low cost. Basically, all NetApp customers use RAID DP. You get great performance, it gives you double disk protection, and it doesn't cost the earth. It's the standard RAID technology within NetApp. Virtual clones. Now, the license for this within NetApp is called Flex Clone. The easiest way to explain virtual clones is they are a writable snapshot. It's based on the same technology, but changes that you write to the clone are tracked separately. Again, virtual clones are instantaneous and they take up no space. The only space they start to consume is the changes that you start to write moving forward. Very popular in test and dev environments and for DR testing. Also becoming more and more popular in virtual environments. So I want to roll out 100 or 1,000 virtual desktops incredibly quickly. I can do that very quickly within NetApp using FlexClone technology. We also have VST, Virtual Storage Tiering. So NetApp tiering is actually closer to caching rather than traditional tiering, where you'd usually associate movement of data rather than caching of data. So from a performance point of view, this is great because it's kind of already doing what the array is designed to do, which is cache data. So this is a SAN array, so that's the way arrays behave anyway. The 2 types of tiering you can get from NetApp are flash cache, which is what used to be called the PAM card, Performance Accelerator Module. So that is a piece of hardware that sits in the storage array and accelerates all of the aggregates and all of the volumes within that array, as long as the workload applies. And then you have flash pools. Now, flash pools is the technical term is a hybrid aggregate. It's the idea of introducing a small amount of very fast disks into an aggregate which contains a large amount of large slow drives. The idea being that those fast drives act as caching for the larger slow drives and thus accelerate the aggregate. And that is storage efficiency in a nutshell. So storage efficiency isn't a feature that you turn on within a NetApp controller. It's a set of features and functions that you turn on. So the guarantee, by the way, that you may have heard about, the 50% guarantee, that still applies, and that's part of the storage efficiency portfolio. The 50% guarantee basically states that if I am using this storage platform for a virtual environment, be it servers or desktops, NetApp will actually guarantee that you will need 50% less space with NetApp than you will with any other vendor on the planet. Now, one of the major ways they achieve that guarantee is by using technologies such as deduplication and compression. So obviously it's very safe. NetApp have never had to pay out. We always overshoot this. They always hit like 80% when it comes to deduplication ratios. But it's a very important message for customers. And next you have ADI, Agile Data Infrastructure. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but this is a new message from NetApp. So this is a new way of talking about storage, very much focused around clustered ONTAP and the features and benefits that clustered ONTAP will bring. Incredibly important and incredibly powerful if you're talking to a customer interested in one major thing, and that would be cloud. Now, please don't be put off by the word cloud. It had to come up in here somewhere. It's a storage presentation. However, cloud has become one of those words now that customers are bored of hearing about because it's been twisted and it's twisted now to everybody's ends depending on what you want to talk about. Cloud is a way of looking at infrastructure. So, for instance, cloud could be used to talk about outsourcing. So, hotmail.com, that is a cloud service. That's email as a service. eBay is a cloud service. Amazon, iTunes, they're all cloud services. But they have some things in common. For instance, Infinite. Their storage grows and grows and grows. Now, Google Mail, Hotmail, and iTunes don't want their hardware platform to be a restriction of growth. They want that hardware platform to be able to grow wherever they need it to grow. The immortal side of things. So this has constantly got to stay online, this platform. I've got potentially hundreds of thousands or millions of users using this platform. It can't fall over. I literally cannot afford for this thing to go down, because if it does, I'm going to lose too much money. And finally, the intelligence side of things. So this platform is going to have multiple users, multiple applications, multiple servers, etc., connected to it. So the more and more you add, potentially the more complicated it can get. So what this is talking about is basically we've taken care of that, Mr. Customer, from a NetApp point of view. We appreciate that that is something that you need to look at and that needs to be taken seriously. The reporting functionality, the management side of things. So that is the intelligence side of things. Now again, this can be a very important message depending on the customer you're speaking to. I suggest if you are speaking to a customer around these kind of messages, please get someone engaged either from NetApp or from Arrow. And also remember that the ADI message does not replace storage efficiency. It compounds it. It's as well as. So personally, I start with storage efficiency and then touch on ADI if I feel the need. I've never had a customer go through the storage efficiency pitch and, get to the end of it and go, none of that interested me. It was just not relevant to me. There's always something within the storage efficiency pitch that excites a customer that they can see as being relevant for their organization. And the alliances we have, so I'll start with Cisco. So the Cisco Alliance and NetApp basically started off the FlexPod and the ExpressPod piece. These are best practices and what are called CVDs or NVAs, so Cisco Validated Designs, NetApp Validated Architectures. Basically best practices of installing certain components between NetApp and Cisco. For further information, please contact your BDM at Arrow or a NetApp representative. NetApp also have strong relationships with Microsoft, VMware and Citrix. A lot of NetApp functionality is actually tied in to their management systems. So for instance, vCenter, vSphere, Citrix and Microsoft and Hyper-V System Center. There's a lot of functionality that kind of crosses over between the two. So if you are interested, please give us a shout. So if you have any customers that are very fond of IBM, please remind those customers that IBM actually resell NetApp. It's called an N series. So if you have any questions on that, again, please contact NetApp or Arrow. We also have two relatively new relationships with NetApp. Now, the first one is SyncSort. So SyncSort is basically a software piece that manages tape integration into a NetApp storage infrastructure. What we're really talking about is cataloging and true integration of tape. So SyncSort can be a very good value prop, especially for customers looking at backup and integrating tape. Again, you can purchase this through Arrow, so please contact Arrow if you have any questions, and we can either have a conversation around SyncSort directly, or we can engage one of the account managers from SyncSort themselves. SafeNet is around encryption, so both encryption on the wire and encryption on disk. Again, Arrow have a specific securities team, so if we have any questions, please give us a shout. And we also have the Snap Manager product range. So the Snap Manager product range is basically designed around NetApp integration with third-party applications. It eases taking snapshots, basically. The process is it gives control of snapshots back to application administrators. So if you're an administrator for Exchange, or you're an administrator for SQL or SharePoint, you can use a Snap Manager application to take snapshots, and you don't really need to know anything about the NetApp array. You don't need to know anything about aggregates or flex files or RAID DP. You know about your application, and that's enough. Again, any questions, please get in touch. So those are the alliances, and finally we move on to big data. So big data is quite new from a NetApp product portfolio point of view, and this is basically the E-Series platform, which is now rebranded E-Series. It used to be called Ngenio. So NetApp see the big data marketplace split into three areas, the ABCs, basically analytics, bandwidth, and content. Analytics being focused around things like DNA analysis, the genome project, etc. Lots and lots of data going incredibly quickly. Bandwidth would be animation studios and lossless video, post-production houses, those kind of infrastructures and organizations. And content would be, say for instance, location-based storage, kind of like the NetApp storage grid application. Now, the E-Series product platform, please do not get confused with this and a FAS platform. So two very different stories. The best way to explain this from a sales point of view, FAS platform, a lot of intelligence, a lot of included advanced technologies, so deduplication, snapshots, compression, all that kind of good stuff. E-Series platform, total opposite end. So this is just to be, basically it's designed to be fast and dumb. There's little intelligence behind it, so there are no advanced technologies. It's just incredibly quick. So the intelligence when it comes to implementing this within a customer's organization really comes from application integration. So this product is quite specialized to individual marketplaces. Again, if you have got any questions, you're currently selling Ngenio, or you would like to start selling E-Series, please contact your Arrow BDM and we can have a conversation about this. So I hope that was useful. Quite a short and quick introduction into NetApp and how it works and how the value prop really benefits customers today. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you for listening. My name again is Stuart Harrison and I work for Arrow ECS. If you have any questions, please contact me directly. Thank you.